A 35mm f1.4 for full frame cameras that is small, lightweight and costs only $120, but is this per gear 35mm f1.4 any good? Yes, it is actually pretty good, and in today's video I will explain you why I like this lens so much. This is a lens that has a very good build construction and smooth focus ring. It is extremely portable, it has a good level of sharpness, already wide open at f1.4, both at medium and far distances, but it is a little bit weak at the minimum close distance. When stopped down to f2.8, the lens performs quite well at every distance, and it is sharp corner to corner from f5.6. It has a pretty good control of the chromatic aberration. You can see a minimum amount of them when using the lens wide open, but once you reach f2.8, the lens is pretty clean. This lens has 10 straight aperture blades that will provide some nice Sunstars already at f5.6. It has a good enough quality of the bokeh already at f1.4, but it will get better at f2.8, where the bokeh balls will not have a so rounded shape, but a little bit more edgy. And last but not least, the vignetting and barrel distortion are a bit evident if used wide open. If I would compare it with the previous lens that I used in the past, I would probably compare it to the Voigtlander 40mm f2, that is a pretty expensive lens, costs around 550-600 euros new, while this per gear 35mm f1.4, it is faster and it is wider and it costs only 120 euros. And I would say that if you are a beginner photographer or you want to start to experiment a bit with manual focus lenses, or you are looking for a wide and fast lens with a bit of character because you would like to create some creative shots, I think this is a perfect entry-level lens because it has a very nice rendering of the images and it has a pretty nice character. But if you are more a professional photographer that is looking for absolute perfection, maybe you should look somewhere else because this is a lens with character. But if you're looking for absolute perfection, you should aim for professional lenses that cost 10-20 times more than this lens. But anyway, keep talking about this per gear 35mm f1.4. This is a great lens, but it has a characteristic that you should be aware of, because this lens tends to flare quite a lot, and it's something that you notice it between f1.4 to f2.8, and it's sort of going to be fixed around f4, and then you will start to see some other type of flares going at f5.6, f8 and f16, and that can be a problem if you aim to take perfect landscape photos, but for street photography, portraits, videos, I don't think that's a problem. Actually, you can play a little bit with the character of the lens, creating some interesting shots thanks to the lens flares produced by this lens. In my case, this characteristic of the lens is not a problem because I'm used to shoot with vintage lenses, but if you don't have experience with ghosting and flaring lenses, this lens can be a little bit difficult to master. But anyway, with the provided lens hood, the flares control get a little bit better. But if you are going to play a lot with backlit situations, you're gonna have quite a bit of flares in your frames. And another little characteristic to mention about this lens is about the aperture ring, because the stops between each f-stop are a little bit weird. So let's say between f1.4 to f2.8 there are 4 clicks. If you go from f2.8 to f4 there are 3 clicks, and if you go to f5.6 you have 1 click, f8 another click, and f16 another click. I mean, you can get used to this discontinued amount of clicks between each f-stop, but because I have a lot of manual focus lenses and they are not declicked, this lens confuse me quite a bit. If you're starting now to introduce fully manual lenses in your kit, considering the low price of this lens, you will not be disappointed by the per gear 35mm f1.4, and I really hope that per gear will also introduce few other budget-friendly prime lenses like this one. In conclusion, I consider this per gear 35mm f1.4 a great addition to my kit because it's extremely small, lightweight, and it produces pretty interesting images, so I will probably use it quite a lot for my street and family photography. If you would like to know more about the lens, I will leave an affiliate link in the description, and if you have any question, feel free to ask in the comment area below, that is under the subscribe and like button. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!